Hello, I'm George Hayes and welcome to another tutorial on SDL 2.0 number 12, and in this tutorial we are going to be covering SDL update texture, sorry, SDL update texture, SDL lock texture, SDL unlock texture, and SDL mem copy. And what you're looking at right now is basically a height map that is being randomly generated and dumped to the screen after it's had color added to it. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at how I did that real quick and see how those functions are used. Alright, this tutorial is actually based on the previous tutorial, so if you want to go back and look at that one before you get to this one, and it'll help you understand this one a little better, because a lot of stuff that's in the previous one I'm not going to go over and go over a second time, and I'm just basically going to go over the changes and explain how these functions here operate. So in here, the primary change as far as in include.h, I've added in a keyboard handler which calls in for this here. uh, this is my keyboard handler. Basically it just simply stores the states of each of the keys and releases them and stuff as needed, which is handled in the event handler by using it like this. When a key is pressed, it basically sets the bit and unsets it, and in this case we're looking for the scan code for the escape key, so that I can just hit the escape key, and at that time it sets running to false and it exits the program. Alright, let's go over to game.h. There's really only the surface added in here compared to last time, and map and the keyboard handler here. No changes on game.cpp. On on init CPP we have some changes. This here is normal, what we had before. Then we come in here and we add this section of code here where we set the the color mask as far as on it, and then go through and set create a surface in here and error check for it, along with creating the actual texture here instead of doing like we did last time and creating it in the from this texture. We're actually creating the texture first. And if you want to know how this particularly works, would go to tutorial, I believe number 1, and it has it. The primary difference is we're having right now is SDL texture access streaming, because we're going to be changing this texture multiple times. Alright, and otherwise it's primarily the same as far as what each of these parts are for, you know, your width and height and so on. Alright, load content. Obviously the stuff that was taken out of here and put into init is no longer in it. The majority of this is still the same. At this point here we've added a few more different colors in to make the height map a little nicer looking. It's about as simple as that gets, and I believe we added the anti-alias in here and afterwards, and it's just a left right anti-aliasing, so it gives you an idea how it works, but it's not the full thing. Alright, so the way we used to create a texture was with this function here from the surface that we were creating above. Alright, and at this point, and that was in the previous tutorial, and so we're going to replace that with this line of code here. Alright, and it's SDL update texture, and we're passing a pointer to the texture in it. We have null right now for this, and I'll explain what that does in a second. Pixels is the pointer to the pixels that you want to pass into it, and 2048 by 4 is what you call the pitch, and that happens to be the number of bytes in the line for one line of pixels. Okay, so the line of pixels is 2048 in my case, and there's 4 bytes per pixel. Alright, now back to this. This here is for designating a rectangle or square that you want to change inside that particular texture. So if you didn't want to change the whole texture, you change that and send a SDL rectangle in there that has the upper left and right corner along with the width and height, and you change it that way. Alright, since we're not using it here right now, this is indicating that we're actually changing the entire texture, and I have the width of the entire texture in here for that. All right, and that's primarily it as far as that goes on that one. Now, we did notice a difference when creating the texture the other way and then passing doing the update texture. If you create the texture using this old method, which technically you shouldn't because it's supposed to declare the texture static. If you remember on the init in here where we have the texture access streaming, well, it'd be as if when you create the texture this way, it declares it as basically static. All right, supposed to. Well, it seems that it still works with this. However, doing it this way and then going over to using this, I found out that you get the red and the blue reversed, or it has been for me. So, just a forewarning if you run into that issue, if you happen to try to use this and then go to this, all right, which I wouldn't actually recommend because in the future they might fix it where you can't actually use this and then update it. All right, go ahead and get back to save. All right. Now, what we did to get it to continually update, since this one only creates the initial page, we copied it into the on loop, which happens every time it runs through the program as far as each time before displaying another, you know, to the screen. We copied that whole set back in there and we got it running with actually the SDL update texture, but we took that out to demonstrate the lock texture and memcopy an unlock texture. All right, what lock texture requires is you to have your void pixels as far as up here and then your pitch. All right, and you pass the map into it. Null again here is for the same thing as for passing the SDL rectangle in, for specifying a rectangle or square that you want to change inside that texture. Well, and you do this, it will sit there and hand you back the address of the pixels into this position and the pitch, the size, number of bytes per line. Okay, so then you use SDL memcopy or whatever you choose to use. You can just use memcopy. SDL memcopy you won't have to worry about if you're switching from Windows to Linux to make a change. It will perform the same way on both. All right, so destination, your source, and the number of bytes you need to change. All right, in this case, my width and height is 2048, and it happens to be 4 bytes per pixel. All right, now SDL unlock texture. All right, all you're doing is passing the texture pointer to it, and that's pretty much it. And so we can sit there and show you this is what it's been running. As you can see, it's just popping up like that. What we had earlier is I just went like this. And go ahead and take that back down. I'm gonna make a change here real quick so you can see that there is no significant difference on that part, but we're running a very large thing. It takes quite a bit of time to actually process, so you wouldn't see the speed difference. However, from what I've been reading is that SDL update texture is a bit faster. All right, and I can understand that because here you have actually 3 additional function calls for to do basically the same thing. And anyway, I hope you appreciate the video. I hope it helps you, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day.